The tweet heard around the world as FAMU's game against North Carolina in Chapel Hill was almost canceled. How? Why? What is happening in Tallahassee? Let's talk about it after the bumper. Stay tuned. What is going on, everybody? What is going on, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. here with the Black Boss channel and Victory Formation. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and notification bell because we upload every single day. Now, this tweet, let's just go ahead and get straight to it. We're not skipping anything. We're not wasting no time. This tweet put out by Rattler Nation blog. It said, breaking, Rattler Nation, unfortunately, due to NCAA certification issues, FAMU football may not be competing in Chapel Hill this weekend, including major starters the players are currently boycotting until the President Robinson and A.D. Smith explain. FAMU family, stay tuned. And so this came out at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, 10:30 for the folks down in the Central time. And it just had folks like, what is happening? Well, what's happening was FAMU was having some compliance issues. And so a reporter down in Tallahassee, a young lady by the name of Allison Posey. Allison Posey put out this tweet, and then she put out a series of tweets after this, kind of explaining what was taking place and what was happening as it was happening. This is Allison Posey, reporter down in Tallahassee, says there are a lot of rumors going around right now about the FAMU football team and whether or not they will travel to North Carolina to face the Tar Heels. The schedule. As of now, the team still has a chartered flight scheduled for this afternoon. I'll keep you updated. And updated is what she did. So let's take a look at Allison Posey's series of tweets. Let me go ahead and start. Let's keep scrolling. Okay, so boom. So she put that one out. Then she put this one out. Just spoke with FAMU A&M head coach, Florida A&M head coach Willie Simmons. There are 20 players that are ineligible, be it for academics or transfer eligibilities. He said he only has 7 offensive linemen that can travel. That's not enough to safely play a football game. And so, I mean, you guys are football fans. You wouldn't be here if you didn't know. There's 5 starting offensive linemen. He said he only has 2 backups. So if one of those backups go down, whether you play that position or not, there's going to be some shifting on the offensive line, and one of those 2 guys are going to have to go in to replace the starter. Therefore, you only have 1 backup offensive lineman. And let's not forget that they're playing an FBS school, which is North Carolina, at home, meaning North Carolina, FBS, 85 scholarship players. FCS, FAMU, HBCU, only 63 scholarship players. And 20 of those 63 players aren't eligible. So meaning you're down to 43 and not 63. And of those 43, you only have 7 offensive linemen. You're at a massive disadvantage, not just competitively, but just for safety precautions, for safety reasons. Because your special teams are dwindled, your offense is dwindled, your defense is dwindled, everything is dwindled because of the lack of players that aren't eligible. So how did we get here? Well, Allison Posey actually goes in deeper about some of this stuff. It says, Coach said they have pleaded with the NCAA to appeal their circumstance. They don't want to see the game not played. Hopefully they'll extend some grace and mercy. So she goes on to say, a certification is certification. Right now, some guys are lost for the season. Ruling on others is 4 games. So it looks like out of those 20 guys that can't play this weekend against North Carolina, some of them are gone for the season. Meaning that means they're not going to be there next week. Orange Blossom Classic, Miami versus Jackson State for potentially the SWAC West title or SWAC East title. Some of them gone already for the season. And others are gone for up to 4 games. This is ridiculous. This is crazy. Let's keep reading. She says, Coach did say he is leaving the decision to play up to the players. He and the coaching staff have talked to them about playing and not playing. It will ultimately be their decision. let's keep reading, man. Allison was crazy on this. Want to clarify the academic issues. Coach said it's a myriad of issues. Progress towards a degree, student-athlete related, advisement issues as well that are university related, what classes athletes are placed in. So when I'm going to get more into this after we continue to read Allison's tweets, because she kind of dives into it. The team is traveling. So this is when she came out and said the team is traveling to North Carolina. So they're going to play the game. The players decided to play the game. And then she said, best bite to sum up today from head coach Willie Simmons. Quote, the responsibility ultimately falls on the student athlete. But without support, it is really, really hard to juggle all the things they have to juggle and still maintain satisfactory academic progress and still compete at the highest level. And she goes on to say, now this is big. This is where FAMU drops the ball, because this is just sad. I'm gonna just be honest. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. This is sad. Florida A&M has one compliance officer for all of athletics. That means men and women's basketball, volleyball, soccer, baseball, softball, tennis, golf, football. They have one compliance officer and one academic advisor. How is that possible? There's 65 scholarship players. There's a number of it's on the football team alone, and there's other walk-ons. There's another 10 or so, 15 or so walk-ons, maybe less than 15. Another 10 walk-ons. There's one compliance officer? What? There's one academic advisor? How? How does that happen at a major institution? How does that happen at a school like FAMU? How? Let's continue on. This is incredible. So the Rattlers are headed to, Rattlers are headed to the Star Metro to catch their chartered flight. Now, FAMU, there's a couple of implications that would have happened if they would have missed this game. One, FAMU is reportedly receiving a check from North Carolina for $450,000 to play this game. You don't play the game, you don't get the check. Well, I imagine FAMU, the school, the athletics department, or whoever, have already budgeted that $450,000 into their budget. So you can't miss out. I mean, it'd be rough to miss out on that $450,000 that North Carolina agreed to pay you to play this game. So let's talk about compliance. Let's talk about some of this stuff. So as an academic institution is what Florida A&M is. They're academic. They're not a football team that goes to college. They're actually an academic institution that happens to have a football team, a really good football team at that. And the problem that Florida A&M is running into is that they only have one compliance officer and one academic advisor. So I've done some digging, a little homework myself. I try to let most of this stuff play out before I had anything to say about it. But from the digging that I did, is that a lot of this went haywire after they fired, or he resigned, their former athletic director, Courtney Gosha. Now, you guys remember the whole Courtney Gosha signed documents with Urban Edge Network and all that stuff. And that led to his untimely dismissal or leaving or firing, resignation, or whatever it was at FAMU. Courtney Gosha was the former athletic director at FAMU. He did some great things at FAMU, some really, really great things at FAMU. But, it looked like he Urban Edge Network, they had looked like they did some shaky, or they made him the fall guy for the Urban Edge Network thing, the HBCU League Pass stuff. I did a previous video on that. You can go check that out. But regardless, he fell on the sword. He's gone. And since he has left, and that was months ago, since he has left from the sources, the people that I've talked to, FAMU's compliance with the NCAA and their academics, they haven't been on top of it. That's just what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that FAMU haven't been on top of their stuff since the leaving, dismissal, firing, whatever of Courtney Gosha. And so FAMU, just like a lot of other SWAC schools, have brought in a ton of new players via transfer portal, recruiting classes, whatever. They brought in a bunch of new players, and they have their current players. But see, what's supposed to take place when you have an AD and you have multiple compliance officers, they run through what they do is what they're supposed to do is when you get a new player or even a current player still on your roster, you check their grades you've had summer classes. You check their grades during the summer classes, like actively, like daily, weekly, monthly. You check their grades and you make sure if you see someone slipping in their grades and their grades are trash, you go pull them to, hey, call, I don't know, use, little Jeff. Tell Jeff to come meet me in my office. And you sit him down and you say, hey, Jeff, you're failing. You are failing, or you have really low grades. What's up with that? If you don't get this right by this date, you can't play. That's what a compliance officer does. But you're supposed to have multiple compliance officers for every sport. FAMU has one in the entire school, one academic advisor covering all of athletics. How the hell does that work? How does that work? Because not only do you have to be compliant within the school as far as school academics, you also have to be compliant with the NCAA. See, there's multiple layers to this. And it sounds as if FAMU, nobody was checking any of this stuff. Nobody was on top of it. They just were allowing, stuff to happen willy-nilly and not checking and not making sure that folks were in compliance. And so, because of this, now, the day before a freaking game, not just a game, but a game that's supposed to pay the university, pay the athletics department, pay the football team or whoever $450,000, there's 20 guys that aren't eligible to play. And some of them will miss the entire season, while others, according to Coach Willie Simmons and the reports put out by Miss Allison Posey, will miss up to 4 games. That ruins their season. And in a lot of these reports, they're saying these are major starters that are going to miss the game. Major starters? How does this happen? Like how? How do you have one compliance officer and one academic advisor for the entire athletics department? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. And if you guys were a part of the spaces that Coach Prime, Willie Simmons, Uncle Luke, shout out to D, Sports and Coffee, they did. Willie Simmons talked about this kind of stuff, man. Because D, I think one of them, Uncle Luke, D, one of them asked him straight up, like, yo, like, Prime, Willie, would y'all leave for bigger schools? He said, I gotta entertain it because I have to keep my institution on its P's and Q's. I have to keep my institution, hold them up to a standard, the same standard that the fans and that my team is going to hold me up to. I have to hold the institution up to that standard. I would love if I could spend 20, 30 years here at FAMU. But with stuff like this happening to where players aren't eligible and I don't know, and we only have one compliance officer in the whole damn athletics department and one athletic advisor, academic advisor in the entire athletics department that's to cover basketball for men's and women's, volleyball, tennis, soccer, baseball, and a 63-man football team. Are you serious? Are you serious? This is not what I should be dealing with a day before a freaking game. This is not what I should be dealing with 24 hours before my season starts. It isn't. It isn't. It isn't. Oh my God. What is happening, man? This is just sad. And so, and I was talking to one of the people that I'm in good with, and they were saying there's also some bigger issues at this. He says some of it will probably be resolved before Saturday's contest against North Carolina. He said, but the bigger question is the general intern athletics compliance paperwork issue. So he was saying, is this a paperwork issue? Meaning these guys are compliant, they just didn't fill out the paperwork. He says, or is this an NCAA APR type of compliance due to academic progress rates and graduation success rates? He said this is something that has happened in HBCUs before, at Texas Southern, at North Carolina A&T, at Norfolk, all within the last decade or so. Now, let me give you guys a little background on me. So I covered I've been covering college sports for a long time, and I was closely covering Western Kentucky WKU for a few years, just in college and out of college because it's where I went to school. And I've heard of APR and academic issues before, right? Like even with FBS, like this happens all the time. This isn't nothing that's new and that's just strictly to FAMU. But what is new is that when those happen, the APR issues, the academic issues, or whatever, it's like one or two players. And that's just because those guys just didn't care. It wasn't that the paperwork didn't get filled out in time or, the university didn't do their part. It was the student athlete. And that's kind of what Coach Willie Simmons is saying. It's like, hey, if you take care of your grades anyway, none of this is an issue, right? So it's like one or two players, and normally not starters, and normally backup guys, guys that just don't care, whatever. So in that, you can't help those people. They are who they are. But for 20 players, now that's a problem because that means nobody was doing their job from the beginning. And it's caused this to happen at the end. You get what I'm saying? Folks, it's supposed to be someone's job to check on these things daily, weekly, monthly. So the summer sessions, when you get you get transfers in December and in February, and in some late additions during the summer. So from December to now, and February to now, and then some in, June or July to now, folks weren't checking this stuff or checking it the way they were supposed to. And sometimes you have to submit last minute things to the NCAA. But once again, that's supposed to be a minute problem, one or two players. It's not supposed to be 20, and it's not supposed to be freaking starters. You get what I'm saying? Your starters, you're supposed to take care of. Your starters, they're supposed to be all good. Your starters, like, whether you believe it or not, coaches, compliance officers, folks in the background, folks that know. Your starters, they can get away with some things that other folks can't. Your starters, the people that mean a lot to your program, the people that's going to help you make a lot of money, help your program make a lot of money, help your team be very successful, there's some leniency shown there. Not by the NCAA, don't get me wrong, not by the NCAA, but the university itself takes care of that stuff. They just do. It's just how stuff works. I mean, it's just how stuff works. It's called starter privilege. That white privilege, black privilege, that's starter privilege. You get some leniency shown towards you. But the fact that this stuff has been a problem since the dismissal or the leaving or whatever, firing or whatever of Courtney Gosha is a bigger issue on FAMU. That is an issue that FAMU can't run from. That is something FAMU and the leadership at FAMU, they're going to have to come out and address this. Coach Willie Simmons, it's out of his control at this point. Now he's going to be playing with a handicapped team. 20 starters? 20 players? Some gone for the year, others gone for up to 4 games. That's not fair to him, man. That is not fair to him at all. And I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Coach Simmons, he's pissed. I imagine he's super pissed about this. And now he might have one foot out there. I'm just speculating at this point. But after hearing him talk in that spaces, wouldn't you believe that he'd have one foot out the door after this debacle? I don't want to have to go through this again. How do you only have one compliance officer in the entire athletics department and one academic advisor? You ain't supposed to have one academic advisor and one compliance officer for the football team alone with 63 scholarship athletes. And you got one in the entire department? FAMU, you dropped the ball, dog. You dropped the ball, dog. And you can blame some of this on the lack of resources just provided to HBCU schools in general. Like we can blame some of that on them. But we also have to put a lot of this on the leadership department at Florida A&M University. And that's the only way to say it. FAMU dropped the ball. Coach Willie Simmons and FAMU as the football team. My heart goes out to you because this just sucks. This just sucks, man. I've never seen anything like this in my life covering college sports. 20 players reportedly ineligible, according to Coach Simmons himself. Only 7 offensive linemen, and you're about to go play an FBS Power 5 team? You're about to go play an FBS Power 5 team on the road, first game of the season, week 0, with 7 offensive linemen. 7 offensive linemen. FBS team, Power 5 school, 7 offensive linemen. This stuff just makes me mad, man. This just makes me mad. I'm mad on a couple of fronts. I'm mad at the university for dropping the ball. I'm mad at the student athletes too. Like, we can't take the onus off of the student athletes. Coach Simmons, if we go back to this tweet, I mean, Coach Simmons is not taking the blame off the student athletes themselves. Allison's tweet says, best bite to sum up today from Coach Willie Simmons. The responsibility ultimately falls on the student athlete. Let's run it one more time. The responsibility ultimately falls on the student athlete. So he's not just letting them escape scotch-free. But he goes on to say, but without support, it is really, really hard to juggle all they have to juggle and still maintain satisfactory academic progress and still compete at the highest level. See, Willie Simmons knows how it's supposed to go, man. Willie Simmons played at Clemson, an ACC program. He played at the Power 5 level. He was a damn good player. He says that ultimately it falls on the student athlete, but the lack of support that we have here at FAMU is just unsatisfactory. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was the last season we seen Willie Simmons as the head coach at FAMU. I hope that's not the case, but I wouldn't be surprised after his comments he made in that spaces and this tragedy that's taking place at their university. Willie Simmons could be on the phone with his agent, fielding jobs. And this time next year, he might be head coaching somewhere else that's not named Florida A&M University. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Hit that thumbs up button. Once again, my name is JeffLightsyJr with the Black Boss channel and Victory Formation. This is just sad way to start off college football season. But nonetheless, we're starting it off and they're going to play the game. Leave your comments down below in the comment section. Once again, my name is JeffLightsyJr with the Black Boss channel and Victory Formation. You can hit that like button, that subscribe button. We're on the road to 4,000 subscribers. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. There's Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Peace.